Campfire Story.
My name is Joseph Hawkins, and until May 7th, 2018, life was normal. I am, or was, a respected homicide detective with the Houston Police Department. Yes, I am from Texas. I was once a respected detective, having solved many cases and putting many scumbags away. However, one mistake landed me in the missing persons department. On April 3rd, 2018, I was working with my partner Kerry Griffin on the Martinez murders case. Jesus Martinez was a prominent Latin king in the Houston area, known for pushing coke and meth. Small leap. However, in March he jumped his game up and took out a rival sect of the Tango Blast gang. Set a bomb off in an abandoned building on Capitol Street, took out 6 members of the rival gang. Most of us agreed it was likely a drug trade gone bad. Here in Houston, it's common for the street trash to mingle and make profit, especially if you are the same race. Sad but true. Rumor had it that he had been held up for weeks after the blast and strung out on his own drugs. Kerry pulled up outside the department in our company-issued undercover unit. Lord, that car looked like hell, paint missing. It had certainly seen better days. I hopped into the passenger seat, and we took off following leads regarding the case. Kerry was a fat, depressive man, very unwanted by members of HPD, and for very good reason. See, Kerry was a racist, a bad one too. You could even peg him as a neo-Nazi sympathizer. Mein Kampf sits in the top drawer of his desk, and he wears an undercover Nazi coin crafted into a ring on his ring finger. He had faced several complaints from other members of the department. I filed 3 myself, though he never knew. The top brass, however, didn't feel it necessary to suspend or remove him from the force, and working with him was a nightmare. I was reflecting on aspects of the case when Kerry hit me in shoulder. "Hey Joe, isn't that Mario over there on the corner?" he asked. "Yeah, let's grab and take him in for questioning. He may have the dirt on Martinez." I huffed. Mario Rodriguez was a pusher and ran drugs on the south side, but definitely knew players in the Latin Kings and Tango Blast. This gave him no real importance, but put in him a position to know certain people on both sides, and was a good lead on Martinez or one of his affiliates. As soon as we pulled off to the side of the street, Mario spotted us and bolted. He ran like a bat out of hell. "Take Street Joseph and head west, we will cut him off on Austin," I shouted as I chased Mario on foot. Kerry Griffin radioed the call in as he took off in the car. An old woman happened to be leaving one of the stores when Mario shoved her to the pavement. "Out of the way, you old bitch," he shouted. I continued the chase until we reached the corner of Austin Street and Street Joseph, where Kerry hobbled out of the cruiser to confront Mario. "Listen here, one move and I drop you," Kerry stated, pistol pointing at Mario. Mario was visibly shaking. As he spoke, he stuttered. "Listen, Vados, I ain't going in. I'm scared of him more than the law, and I'm not taking chances." He said this while slowly pulling a knife from his pocket. "Put it down now," I commanded. Local beat cops had already sectioned off the road, and he was surrounded, with no way out. With a sudden shake, Mario was on the floor. One of the beat cops had positioned himself close enough to hit Mario with his taser. Within a few minutes, we gave him his rights and had placed him in the rear of cruiser. I had Kerry handle this, and he was going to do the report too. This is the least that he could do. While returning to lockup, I tuned Kerry out, a gift I had learned from years as his partner. Often when picking up a suspect like Mario, he would ramble his racist garbage, and I tuned him out. Suddenly, I felt an iron grip on my left hand. I looked over to see blood dribbling down Griffin's neck. Mario was screaming at Kerry, "Die, you racist. You aren't taking me in. I'm not going back." I grabbed Mario's hand and tried to hold on. His hands were so slick with blood that I kept losing my grip, and the ice pick being used was going further into Kerry's throat. While struggling with Mario, I hadn't noticed the car was out of control. There was a slam that knocked Mario to the passenger side of the unit, and I looked forward to see we were heading toward construction zone where a cement truck was just backing into the road. I reached for the wheel, but it was too late. As I screamed at Kerry to stay with me, we struck the front of the truck and flipped. When I came to, I pulled my pistol and looked in the rear of the vehicle to see that a back window had been damaged and Mario was nowhere to be seen. I checked Carrie's pulse and knew that he was gone. Blood was everywhere. The ice pick had likely sliced the artery. There were days of questioning by internal affairs. Every cop's worst nightmare. They live and eat the ruination of any cop. We were found at fault for failing to search the suspect and find the ice pick, and this, of course, resulting in Carrie Griffin's death. Adding insult to injury, Mario Rodriguez had evaded capture for days. He had shot another cop while being apprehended for Carrie's murder. This also was attributed to my failure. I knew that Carrie was the officer conducting the apprehension and the search. But as I was living, Carrie was not. It was on me. I was suspended pending the investigation, and then assigned a new position with the Missing Persons Division on May 7th, 2018. That was the morning the city turned to nightmare. I woke up to a 2 a.m. call from Captain Trin. "Sir, what's going on?" I asked, barely awake. "You are needed now, Lieutenant Hawkins. Come to HQ and report immediately to Missing Persons," he said with a tone that just oozed that you don't have any choice in the matter. "Sir, with all due respect, I'm still under review and I am suspended," I stated, now becoming focused on my surroundings. I began to slowly notice the lights were off across my apartment, and noises could be heard outside my window, people running and screaming, and I had barely registered his final statement before the phone call was ended. "Get here now. That's an order from Chief. Children are missing across the city." I quickly got dressed and headed toward HQ, flipping on the radio to soak up the chaos unfolding before me. "This is KTRH 740 bringing you an emergency update to the power outages that occurred this morning. The outages occurred from 12 a.m. to approximately 2 a.m. this morning. Local power companies currently have no explanation for the outages, but are investigating reports that a power surge occurred just prior to the blackout. The blackout reached most of the Metroplex and surrounding counties, and we have reports that 10 families across the city are reporting that one or all of their children went missing during the blackout. Chief Acevedo has not given a press statement regarding this situation yet, but one is expected this morning." I turned off the radio and mumbled to myself, "What is happening?" As I pulled up to HQ, the local news stations were already setting up outside. I pushed through the growing mob of media and concerned families. Many were beginning to scream at the officers standing watch outside, begging for answers that no one could give them. As I entered the bullpen, there was an observable disdain and quiet in the room. Though many of us, I could see 1 or 2 detectives were missing. Captain Trin summoned me into his office and slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. "You are being placed into Missing Persons effective as of right now, and I want you on your best freaking behavior. No screw-ups, not with this. Do you understand me, Hawkins?" he shouted. It seemed more for show, but his face was turning a dark shade of red. "Yes, sir," I stated. He began to speak while sliding my gun and badge across to me. "You will help lead this investigation, as the lieutenant in charge of Missing Persons investigations is currently with his family. His daughter Stacy is missing. You are to report directly to me on all aspects of your investigation." "Understood." "Yes, sir, I do understand, and you will be updated regarding this investigation." "Do we have any leads?" My eyes washed over him, and I could see that he was just as lost as the rest of us. "We have one." The second call that came in was regarding a family living in the Heights. They are home and waiting on a detective. Their daughter Janice was taken, but their son Zach was not. They stayed in the same room. He hasn't been questioned yet, as the family is obviously distraught and unnerved. "It's the Perkins family, Joseph B. Courteous," he stated, obviously saddened by the need to question a young boy. As I turned to walk away, he called out to me, "You will have a partner on this, and I know you don't want one, but this isn't an option." I walked from Trin's office with anger and frustration coursing through my mind. As I stopped by the break room to grab a cup of coffee, I was approached by Detective Mendoza, a veteran of the Missing Persons Division. "I see we will be working together." I continued walking as I responded, not as if I have a choice, but let's go meet the boy. We pulled up to a small home in the Heights district at 5 a.m. I observed several cars in the driveway and individuals waiting on the porch. I saw 2 grown men, both African American, talking with local PD and visibly frustrated. I gathered this was due to a delay in response time. Mendoza and myself exited the unit and began walking up to the home. "Good morning. This is the Perkins residence, correct?" "This is Detective Hawkins, and I'm Detective Mendoza." he stated, equally trying to gauge the situation. "Why are you always late when coming out here? We got kids too." One of the men shouted at Mendoza. Mendoza was certainly not Griffin, and it showed as Mendoza carefully expressed his concern regarding the response time and explained the nature of the situation across the city. Though not completely quelled, the argument did end there. "James is inside with his boy. They are waiting on you now," the second man on the porch stated as he smoked a cigarette. Walking in, I could see this was a home without a woman's touch. Beer cans and Coke cans littered most of the countertops, and a disheveled man sat on the couch with his son. The father, James Perkins, sat there, the very image of Lost, his eyes staring far off into the wall. The kind of man the world continues to beat down even when they have had enough. "Mr. Perkins, I'm Detective Hawkins. I'm with the Missing Persons Division, and I'm here to speak with you regarding your daughter's disappearance this morning. Do you have a moment?" I asked, trying to be courteous. "I don't know what happened. I put Janice and Zach down to bed. I woke up to Zach screaming, and the lights were off. He wouldn't stop screaming. It was such horrible screaming," he stated as tears began to fall down his face. "When I walked into his room, there were things all over the walls, written in blood. God, I hope it's not her blood," he sobbed. I instructed Mendoza to continue with the father as I checked out the children's room. As I walked through the door, I could smell the acrid stench of iron and blood, and on the wall was a horrible display. The endless serpent was drawn in blood on the wall, words written above and below it reading, "A stranger, the forgotten, has returned. I know who took her, sir," a small voice uttered behind me, causing me to jump and reach for my pistol. There stood Zach at the door, tears running his face. A small boy, maybe 8 years old, wearing Spider-Man pajamas. "I'm sorry, son. You scared me a bit. Let's step out of the room so we can speak together." I guided him to the kitchen where we sat at the table to talk. "You said you know who took your sister." Looking down at the floor, still weeping, the boy slowly spoke. "Yes, he's our friend, but he doesn't seem like a friend anymore. So he's a family friend?" I asked, now hoping that this may be resolvable quickly. "No, like a secret friend for Janice and me. He didn't let us tell Dad about him. He said it was our secret and that we could have amazing things if we kept it a secret. He said we would go somewhere very special," he said, becoming more animated as he spoke about this friend. "Do you know your friend's name or where this special place is?" I asked. He paused and thought before responding. He never gave us his name. Just said he was a stranger and our friend. "I don't know about this special place, but it is supposed to be different. Like here, but different." I began to become more concerned. This had the sound of something sadistic or disgusting, like the pedophiles might say when coaching small children. I was interrupted and thought by Zach, who continued speaking about this friend of his. "He doesn't look nice though. He speaks nice, but doesn't look nice. He looks very scary, like a monster," Zach said, his voice beginning to break. "Describe him to son so I can have an idea of who we are looking for," I asked, wondering now where this story might lead. Today was the first time we saw him. He always stayed in the shadow behind the door so we couldn't see him. He wouldn't let us close to him. He would only talk. He is big, very, very big, but seemed bigger today than the shadow. He was too scary to look at, big and kind of green like a lizard. I closed my eyes and began screaming, he said as tears began to roll down his cheeks. My brow began to furrow and I was trying to read this child. Many years of lying scumbags, they always have a tell. But I couldn't see this being a lie. His posture, his sadness, his reactions all too real. Perhaps a costume, but something about this story seemed real. I gave the boy my thanks for his information, and we finished with the interviews on site. I asked Mendoza to drop me off at home as we needed as much rest as possible before we continued with the investigation. I asked him to come grab me by 1 p.m. to continue. When I arrived home, I placed my keys on the counter and headed for the couch and laid down. As I rested there, I heard movement from my room. Cautiously, I grabbed my pistol and walked into my room. There, sitting at my small desk, was Janice. "Detective, the stranger is coming out to play," she said as she giggled. The lights flickered and she was gone. Writing now on my wall, "A stranger, the forgotten, has returned." Subscribe or I will haunt your house. If you like this video, please do comment, like and subscribe for more. Thanks for hearing. See you in the next one.